So my name, Matthias Schlimm, coming from Germany, working for a consulting company, like also an independent UC architect for different environments like enterprise customers. I'm receiving the Citrix CDP, first year I'm here for the CDPs. Thank you very much. And also a big surprise for me at lunchtime, I see the boxes from Alex sponsored, so the EUC web.com and also the BIS-F logo on the lunchbox itself. So I see the first time you can take away the BIS-F to go in your lab or from home from your customer itself. So also I would like to have to look with you a deep look into one of the next release. So but before we are starting, I give you a short overview what BIS-F is today. So 10 years ago, well, I think that's 2008. I'm going to a customer and running there my first PBS environment. And in 2008, it was after the audience ownership. And then I'm starting to develop several scripts like Batch, PowerShell, and everyone, if I go from customer to customer, I'm doing the same. And this was the initial starting point for me. Okay, I can create a global library, a PowerShell script library or whatever, can take it from customer to customer. But my goal was I do it independent, so I can take it from one customer to another customer without having the environment variables from the other customer to the next one. And this was the driver for me to develop this tool. And at the moment, it's 100% PowerShell driven. You can extend it with your own scripts if you like. And you can combine vendor best practices in a single tool. That means we have a bunch of several scripts, and if you configure it in a way like the HTMX, BIS-F detects the environment that you have and running the steps based on your environment. So for example, if you have configured defrag, for example, and you are running your PBS environment, defrag is only possible to run it on the base disk, not on the HVD like the current disk. Why? If you're running defrag, for example, on the HVD, the defrag runs on the HVD and blows up your disk, for example. You have configured in the HTMX, but BIS-F that detected if you run it on the base disk or on the version disk and do not run defrag on the version disk itself. Also, we have a feature enabled some time ago, like cloud ready, means in the cloud you have different environments, you have sometimes not GPOs available or whatever. You can completely export your environment, means the configuration, into a XML file and can put it in the environment, and you must not use it with GPUs. And also at the end of your image, you're running the ceiling, like you would like to have it run for Extended Visual Labs and Desktop or VMware or whatever. This is the last step of your image. That means if you build it up from scratch, or if you updated it with Windows updates or whatever, every time you run the basic script framework. But what happens if you're booting up the cloned device? BIS-F does not only run at the end, it only runs if your booting machine booting up, then activate your Office against the KMS server, run via WM, Cloud Cache, and so on, and all the other steps. It do different things. But I show it later what it does and how to do it. But first of all, if I go now to the release, how it works, I would like to give from me to you a big thank you about the last couple of years, about the community. At the moment, I'm reached out about 12,000 downloads from the current release, and I would like also to give a big thank you from you to back about the community. Very thank you very much for this. And also, if you see on the table outside, I've also there some stickers from BIS-F. You can put it on your laptop or whatever. So, what I see on the market also in a couple of months ago. So also WVD is released some weeks ago, and also Nutanix Cyframe, for example, is now available since this year, also for on-premise deployments. So before we have only cloud deployments, now you can use Nutanix Cyframe also for on-premise deployment. And also for the improvements from virtual apps and desktops, for example. You can using MCSIO, all the other things, WM, or from the Horizon View, and all the things. And if you talk with your customer, you have sometimes also different things like native or hybrid deployments. That means, okay, some customers would run some workloads outside of the on-premise stuff, so they run the deployment on cloud native and all the other things. That can all be done at the moment also with BIS-F. So, hands up from you. Who using BIS-F at the moment? Who knows BIS-F? Okay, thank you for your attention. That was the session. No, okay, we are doing a little bit and have a look how it works. First of all, for BIS-F it's very easy to install. You can get from a page a simple installer and can install it in your environment, like automated or manually. So click next, 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 and that's all. But under the hood, BIS-F also supports many third-party tools in addition, like AS-Delete, Citrix Optimizer, VMware OS optimization tool, and many other things. These all additional third-party tools can be triggered from the HTMX from BIS-F in an automated way at the end of the ceiling. So then you can put in the HTMX also a custom path for the third-party tools. We are stored like C tools, AS-Delete, for example. And then you can run these third-party tools all configured from the HTMX itself in an automated way at the end of the spot ceiling. This is the very easy part. With the configuration itself, that's completely done with the HTMX. Then you got the HTMX after the installer in the installation folder, grab the HTMX folder, like the HTMX itself, the language file, and put it into the policy definitions. That's all. Open the configuration, and you can configure it based on the Swift framework from scratch inside of the HTMX. At a later point, we also have a look at some configuration items from the based on the Swift framework. And the run process at the end, trigger it in an automated way, or you run it manually, for example. That depends on your environment. So, before we are now going into the next release, I will show you currently what we do at the moment in the current release of 6.1.3. That is all the Microsoft stuff at the moment. I think that is a big list and so many points that we are at the moment have configured, and that's all automatic way. So BIS-F detects your environment. So for example, if you have not installed the PVS touch device driver, BIS-F does nothing with it. So it detects if you have installed or not, and then it runs automatic the way to configure it. Also, for example, here, the UEFI or legacy boot. This is absolutely necessary for PVS environments. So UEFI or legacy boot, if you're normally using the PVS visit, or the P2PVS, but for UEFI boot, you can only using the imaging visit. But in the policy from BIS-F, you can configure both. You can configure to use P2PVS, or you can configure the imaging visit. And BIS-F automatically detects if you're using UEFI or legacy, and automatically switch to the right one if you configure it wrong in the HTMX, for example. And all the other things that you see here. So like REST performance counters. This was also a big change here with Citrix virtual apps and desktops 7.9 that I remember. So you must also reset the performance counters on the booting up on the machine. Before, you must run it only at the ceiling. For after 7.9, you must run it also during the booting up from the machines, and all the other things. Also for the security part, or for electronic software deployments, and this is all the things that we are currently supporting from our BIS-F. If you have installed the agent for semantic endpoint protection, BIS-F detected, remove the unique identifier, all the files that must be removed in the registry in files or whatever, and seal the agent itself. But what happens if the machine booting up, the agent is starting, like semantic endpoint protection, generates a new unique identifier, and communicate with your backend server. Next time the same machine booting up, creates a unique identifier, communicate with your backend server, and you have a new entry. This is the normal step that happens. But BIS-F doing this in a different way. So if we have removed this one, we are setting the antivirus service not to automatic, we are setting to manual. So if BIS-F coming up, the machine starting, and BIS-F has a scheduled task under it. So the machine putting up, the scheduled task runs, says, hey, okay, semantic antivirus is installed. We are using a prefix, a static prefix, like null, 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 minus, and then we attach the MAC address to this unique identifier, write it to the registry or files, and then we are starting the service. This is easily to use, and every time the machine booting up, they got the same MAC address, and you have the same entry on your management server. This works for mostly from all of these security antivirus vendors. So it's also mostly best practice. So BIS-F do nothing special, for example. We take the best practices from the vendors like Semantic Analyzer and put them logic inside of the PowerShell scripts. Mostly same also for SCCM and all other things. If you're using SCCM, you know you have also certificates under the hood. Same way here, BIS-F also remove the certificate and create a new one on computer startup for the unique iComputer account. That's all. All of the other things that you can see are like FS logics and so on. We have also great integration for FS logics. Means you can define inside of the policies central rule share. That means UNC path, where you stored your rules, like FS logics app masking rules. And on computer startup, BIS-F copy the rules from the log share inside of the program data folder for FS logics, and the app masking rules would be applied. Also, for monitoring, VMware, and all the other things that you can see on the screen. Mostly, some of these things are configured via HTMX, if possible. If you have no entry inside of the HTMX, you must do nothing. The BIS-F take care of it if it runs with the rest. So for Citrix, that's a huge list at the moment, and a little bit huger in the next one. That's a lot of things that we're doing here. For example, I would like to talk about the delay of the Citrix desktop service. For VDI, for Windows 10, for example, the machine booting up, the Citrix desktop service, like the broker service, starts immediately, and the user can log on the machine. So, but under the hood, mostly you have different processes that are running there, like read, WM, and all the other things. So with the delay of the Citrix desktop service, you can configure it in the HTMX to also set the desktop service to manual instead of automatic. And during the sealing, the BIS-F stops the service and set it to manual. And on computer startup, first if the personalization is finished from the BIS-F stuff, then the desktop service would be started and the machine is up and running and ready for the user session. Also that we have for Citrix app layering, we can detect all layers in a different way. So not only app layer, platform layer, and OS layer. So mostly the app layer and the platform layer would handle as the same, but with BIS-F we can handle both layers different. So, and all the other parts that here on the list. Also for the offline defrag for here. If you're using PVS and you have at the end of the sealing, you write your image inside of the VHTX, and you can store the VHTX on a share, like direct the store from the PVS itself. If the VHTX is created, then it would be automatically mounted in your master image and would automatically defragmentation running on this mounted VHTX. That's run automatic out of the box. Also, for old environments, we're also supporting IMA service like Citrix CANAP 0.5 if you're running in your environment, or all the other things that you can see here directly. For Citrix Optimizer, we have a great integration also in the HTMX. Means You can enter the template path, you can enter the template name, and you can also add the template prefix for Citrix Optimizer. Means Citrix today delivers the built-in templates from Citrix itself, like Citrix underscore with the scan 1809.xml. But you would like mostly have your own template for Citrix Optimizer, like from your company name, like the prefix, and you can completely configure this with the HTMX. And the end of the sealing, BIS-F triggers automatically the Citrix Optimizer into the rest of the links in a complete automated way. So, if you installed the base in the script terminal, for example, this is the scripts that you at the moment see in an automated way, like subcall preparation, and we have also a folder for the personalization that runs during the computer setup. So, if you execute BIS-F at the end, the global BIS-F folder would be initialized, then the custom scripts were running, and the scripts that you see on the screen. The first one is the global module from BIS-F itself, like all the functions, the modules that we need. Then, but we would like you to integrate your own scripts. You can put it in the custom folder, like PowerShell script that you have developed at your own. That is also necessary if you install an update from BIS-F, the content of the custom folder would be kept. All the other that you see, that would be deleted and would be overwritten by the next version. But in the custom folder, that is completely for you. I have created short video. Normally that takes up to 1 hour or 2 hours. It depends on your environment. This is the normal sealing step at the end. So if you have multiple languages installed or whatever, it can run up to 1 hour, 2 hours. It depends on your environment. So that all redirects the complete event logs to the D drive. You see also the version that we get, and also the semantic antivirus with the VI tool to exclude all the files. This is a complete automated step from BIS-F. You must do nothing here. And also you see, if that's finished, you see here, the unique identifier would be removed from the semantic as well. And at the end, also the Office, operating Office would be detected, Citrix Optimizer would be triggered, and all of the other things. Also the rearm state would be get from the system itself, also be running it only once at each sealing. Then at the preparing part, here we are seeing here several steps that would be running here, like cache files, Windows 10 that would be needed, and all other stuff. That's a complete automated way, and also the SDLE that would be run, but SDLE runs only on the PVS write cache disk, not on the local system. This is a machine for PVS. So in one of the next slides, you also see the conversion from the C drive into the PVS vdisk, and that's all. So you also see here the two services, like the volume shadow copy service would be started if they are stopped before. These two services are absolutely necessary to run the PVS conversion. So at the end, the image would shut down and you can use it at your PVS. So what happens if your machine is booting up? So if your machine is booting up during the preparation, means the sealing, BIS-F creates a scheduled task on the image, so that you can see here at the top. If your machine is booting up, this scheduled task is running on your image, that means your cloned device or your MCS machine or whatever, and also make the AHV client unique, means the antivirus client. So, as I said before, write the information into the registry and so on, and starting the service. Same, not a little bit different way, like in the preparation, in the personalization, we all do the global things first, like initialize the modules itself. Then we are using our scripts from the BIS-F itself, and then at the end we are triggered use scripts that are placed here in the custom folder, and that is all. And at the end, if you have configured the Citrix Delay desktop service, then it will be started. That's all. So all you see here, like Office activation and all the other things. Format previous write cache disk once. If you have multiple devices deployed, normally you have a fresh new write cache disk attached. So there's not formatted, nothing happens. But it's a raw device, BIS-F detected this disk, format the disk, and reboot the device once. That's all. So that means you must only deploy an image without pre-formatting the write cache disk, and you can also run BIS-F to configure it and format the disk. Okay, that was the reason for the 6.1.3. One question? Yeah.
Why is the case of disk formatting is always done? It's just done when you run?
Just takes only one. So if you have for example, like the previous write cache disk, you have 10 or 15 devices created, then you must also create the D drive, like the write cache disk.
I did it already in the template.
That's pre-formatted. But if you do it with the wizard, then it's different. And also with the PVS wizard inside, you create a new disk with the wizard. So like if you have a look at the PVS wizard in the console, you can also create automatically away from this wizard a new hard drive that is not formatted at this point. If you have a template, then you can have it pre-formatted. Then BIS-F does nothing here. That's right. But with the wizard itself, you do a clean. So the simple way, if BIS-F is able to write to this, it's good. Otherwise, I do it for you. So this was our first preview to the 6.1.3, or what happens now in the 6.1.3, and now what happens with the complete new version, like the Bugs Bunny release 7.19.12, that would be released soon. So we have this functionalities in this current release. So that means we have only added WVD, sci-frame, parallels, and also the hypervisor detection. What it means for BIS-F. So BIS-F at the end can also run like a Sysprep, for example, for non-managed devices. So, but Sysprep is not possible to run on managed devices like image management software like sci-frame, WVD, virtual apps and desktop, and so on. So you can also configure Sysprep inside of the HTMX, but if you have configured it, that's not possible. One question here?
Yeah, you support a Microsoft WVD. You're going to support other cloud desktops, like say Amazon Workspaces?
What?
Just
No.
one out of the air.
A good business for the next release, for example. Normally it's not a problem. Also, we must get the information how we can detect it, and then we can easily integrate it.
Excellent. I'll point you in the right direction, mate.
Sorry?
I'll point you in the right direction.
Of course. Only talk to me and I can do it. Normally, this is an easy way. Like sci-frame, we are detected on the service. Microsoft WVD, we get WMI information from the system itself and see, okay, if it runs or not, or we can get a service to detect the environment. That is all that BIS-F done. So it's not related if you run Citrix environment, if you run a native VMware environment, or all the other things. So BIS-F does every time around the same, but it also take the information from Citrix Virtual and Desktop, like our PVS Hypervisor driver, and do the right stuff for you. You must not have a checklist and okay, I must do this, 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 and this. BIS-F detect the environment and do those things for you. This is just the reason for this tool. And also with the hypervisor detection, we get all information from the hypervisor itself, store them in a global variable, and if you would like to use your own script for this environment, you can place it, for example, in the custom folder and run a script for VMware, run a script for HV or whatever, or sensible. For Microsoft, in addition, we have also enabled the local administrator password solution support. That means for Windows 10, if they're booting up and have the same information, also the password example, like the key inside of the clone device, you have also get an issue with local administrator password solution. This key would automatically be reset during machine booting up and generate a new password in the Active Directory for your cloned device. But labs can you configure in the HTMX from BIS-F itself. That's all. Logics optimization means we have also, as I said before, some about configure or copy the information from the share itself. But with Office Logic optimization in this release, we have also some cloud cache optimization. For example, if you store the HTMX on the persistent drive, then you get the name from the user or the SID from the user at the top, and BIS-F delete this one on computer starting up, and you have a clean machine. Also, the page file that you can configure, like okay, I would like a static page file and store it on the D drive, for example, like my persistent drive and all the other ones. Sysprep command lines and all the links for better logging. We have a PowerShell transcript that you can enable inside of the logging. For the guys that are using SCCM or MDT, then you can configure here that the log file from BIS-F is stored inside of the log folder from the SCCM logs. Normally that would be stored on the persistent disk or on the C Windows logs, for example, but with this enabled, you can get the log files in a single folder where you are stored the files from the SCCM. And in addition, like the other antivirus providers, antivirus scan options means normally you have only a full scan in the HTMX. But now you can enable additional options for the antivirus scan, and you can enable vendor-specified arguments to run the scan on your endpoint. Means before the ceiling is starting, you run a full scan, or you enter the commands and option, and run only a low scan, for example. Okay, for Citrix MCISIO, you need a minimum of 1903 as a VDA, and with 1903 you can also using a persistent disk in your environment. That means the same like PVS. Now you can have it for MCSIO. I'll show it later in the configuration item that we can. VDA SSL support, I go a little bit faster over these appointments. We have now some slides for this. And also applying config. This all has been done in this current release. Citrix VDA and VDA grid and Intel graphics support means mostly for Intel. If you install the VDA in a different way or in a wrong way for the NVIDIA drivers, you must running manually the Monterey enable exe to have the VGUB enabled. And with this configuration item, it runs at the end the Monterey enable and enable the VGUB inside of the VDA. This is all that we've done here. And as I said before, like the broker service additional delay means normally at the end of the personalization, means the computer starting up, you can add additional seconds to wait if the BIS-F is finished from the computer starting up, to add 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and after the BIS-F personalization is finished, after these seconds, the broker service would be started first.
What are you doing with this on graphics?
This is the best practices from Citrix itself. We have a look to the page itself. That means we enable it under load for the VD itself. That's all. I have also a link to the knowledge base article in the HTMX itself. I must have a look. But if I configure boards like the checkbox, BIS-F detect.
What are you doing?
Sorry?
Is it SDK or what are you doing with it?
With the Intel graphics support, if I have a look to the page from, I must have a look at the code, sorry, it's massive at the moment. With the Intel graphics support, Citrix also supports this at the moment. You can enable it like a special command for the VDI itself to enable the Intel graphics support inside of the VDA. That's all that we do at the moment.
Because the SDK can be very dangerous to use.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear.
Sorry?
SDK can be very dangerous to use.
I'm not sure. I think that is not the SDK native. That's only. Thomas, I will have a look later to the slide, but I'm not sure at the moment. I've got to the VDA itself and they enable, but the SDK must install separately, right? Yes. And that is not what I'm doing. Sorry, no, that's a misunderstanding from you. Sorry, from my side. Sorry, I'm not using the SDK. I have a look to the slides later and give the information back to you. So at the moment, this is a big, massive list, so I have not all functionalities at the moment in my mind. So with the good news for the new version, also we have some deprecated features also for the new version, means completely we are focusing on Citrix Optimizer, the VMware optimization tool. So that means we do not disable any scheduled tasks anymore or service. This is completely out of scope from BIS-F. Do it with group policies preferences, for example. Do this with Citrix Optimizer, VMware OS optimization tool. That is better. Also for the German guys in the room, if you have the DE enabled in your environment or available, for example, please also remove it or copy the HTML to the DE folder, so to prevent further issues. So we also distribute the English one in the future, not the DE. In earlier versions, we have also some message boxes that you can see. That means if you have not configured the HTMX, BIS-F say, hey, the FS Logic toolshare is not configured. Please enter it here in the message box, and then you can go ahead. This is completely removed. Also, with the verified option means normally all message boxes would be suppressed, and you got no message boxes, only an error would be appeared. This is completely removed with this version. So, for the MCSOs, you see here the write cache disk that you can figure best practices for your endpoint device. Do it with your, not your endpoint device, sorry, with your master device. Your master device, configure it without this policy. And for your touch device, it means your cloned devices from MCS.io itself, please configure this policy in the right way. It means the drive letter and the number of partitions. The number of partitions, we need this information to detect the right number to format the write cache disk. That is all the information that we need at this point. And if you would like to extend it with your own scripts, use the $MCSIO, $true or false, then you can extend it with your own scripts. So also for the guys that would like to use Citrix VDA SSL, for example, like HTML5 receiver or other security reasons, you can configure it here directly in the policy. And the submit if you like, or you have it. Otherwise, BIS-F will do it for you. If you have the Active Directory, means the PKI infrastructure available, then you can automatically generate a certificate based on the computer name. But in addition, if you have a look, we can configure it with different SSL versions that you have and all the ciphers that's available here in the HTMX itself. This helps you all a lot if you're running the BIS-F in the computer startup. Then all this information that you're seeing here would be written to the BIS-F log. Then if you have something went wrong, you get the log from the BIS-F, and all the information that you are here on the console can you also see in the log file itself. That's also very helpful if something went wrong.
Do you check for certificate expiry?
No. No.
Should be important because it's the most.
A good idea. Hopefully I can do it in one of the next versions, but currently not. The PISF hydration, I've also talked with some customers, and this was also a great integration from my colleague Stranded from Control Lab. He delivered this logic. So if you're using PBS touch devices, mostly the first user starting Word or Excel, for example, they have a little bit lag of delay to starting first application. But with this functionality, you can enter C program files or C program files x68, and all these files would be stored in real time during computer startup and would be grabbed from the VHDX and would be cached before the user starting the Word, Excel or the application. And the user get a faster response of the machine is rebooting. Also for the guys using, or for the people using PVS, this is also the reason why cache drive let us set to none. I have some deployments like really on hardware running, like HP Moonshot or whatever, without any hard drive, like PVS write cache disk. Then you configure it to none and can run your PVS touch device without a drive letter. So that means also the redirection is in this way also disabled, but you have a write cache disk. You can also disable the redirection here. You can see on this checkbox here. And also, I have said before in some slides, you can here configure the VDisk format like VHDX or VHD and using the imaging wizard or the P2PVS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you see any difference between those two?
Which one? At the moment, so the most of the deployments using the imaging wizard. So that's also the P2PVS never been used at the moment, and mostly there are guys using the imaging wizard. So this is the all from my side, so the information that I got from the customer itself. So the P2PVS is also enabled. You can also use it, like for legacy boot or whatever. But on all the environments that I'm running, so mostly the customer using the imaging wizard. P2PVS is there if you would like to use it, but I think also best practice is imaging wizard to use. So the shared configuration is very interesting for guys that are walking from environment to another environment. Like you can grab the complete information, like the registry information from BIS-F, into a single JSON file, and you can put the JSON file to your next customer. Then you can also configure it like in your best practices way, grab this information and put it into the next environment. That's very easy. So in the old version, 6.1, we have XML files, but now we are using JSON files, but we are backward compatible. That means if you have XML files, the new version can also read the XML files for you. So I have 2 minutes left, I'm walking a little bit faster. That means also for app layering, you can using JSON files for each layer. That means BIS-F detect, okay, I'm running now on the app layer. I'm running now on the OS layer or running on the platform layer, and configure or using the right configuration for your environment. Means, in a better way, you have configured in the HTMX, then you're running the BIS-F like is a separated command line, and then you got the information from the HTMX itself. Enter the number for the layer, and then you get a different JSON file. Then you can put it in your installation folder, and based on your layer, this configuration would be applied. That's all. Very simple, but very helpful. And during startup, if no layer configuration is available, automatically BIS-F switch back to the OS layer configuration. So in summary, means from app layering itself, we have different run modes. The first 2 ones are not used anymore from app layering itself. But with this configuration, the disk mode is one value that comes from BIS-F itself, that we can detect each layer different for an environment and can run the right configuration. Okay, system optimizations. In the standard deployment, BIS-F is not designed to put more users on your environment. It's only designed to get a clean image up to the end. The rest of it, like system optimization, can be triggered like Citrix Optimizer, VMware optimization tool, or your own scripts. That's all. So I'm also writing some articles here that you can use it to for Citrix Optimizer, for example. So I'm walking a little faster. So this is the logging feature that you can see also from external log, for example, that would be grabbed inside of the BIS-F log, and you can also see what happens under the hood. Okay, now that it's time. Thank you very much. Okay, now I have said before, and now it's time. Today I have released, you go to my page, and now the beta is now officially available. So since today, in the last couple of weeks, we have tested it only in private circumstances, but now the beta is officially available also from you. Grab it from this page, test it, and I'm happy before Christmas, hopefully, I can start publishing the official release. Last but not least, next year, we come with the next release, hopefully. This is the feature that I put it on at the moment, and hopefully I can realize it for next year. All these features that would I put it on, I think also some ideas from the guys here in the room, and that's all. Thank you for your attention. So time is over.